And we need to talk today, first off, about Jadon Sancho. Because in the Champions League last night, irrespective of everything that's happened, that guy was fantastic. He on the right wing as well, he was absolutely tearing it up against PSG, against Nuno Mendes, had him for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And obviously there's a big situation surrounding Jadon Sancho at Man United. Ten Hag today has kind of slightly left the door open for him. So previously Ten Hag's been asked about Jadon Sancho and he said, he knows what he needs to do. But today it was more of we'll see. So, there's potential that Sancho is convincing the club, maybe, that they should give him, another chance. But, should they, considering that he went against Ten Hag's authority, which is realistically the be-all and end-all?
Yeah, well, I think no matter what your view on that is, him playing well on loan is only good for Manchester United, whether you think he should be able to come back into the squad next year under Ten Hag or under a different manager and try and recreate his Old Trafford career, or if he leaves, that performance has stuck 10, 15 mil onto his price tag, because he's doing exactly what people doubted of him at Old Trafford. And obviously you can say that he's doing it in the Bundesliga, but last night it was in the Champions League, it was in a semi-final, so it's a big game to be doing that in. And I think irrespective of your opinion of whether he should stay or go, it was a good thing for him and for Manchester United.
Yeah, I can agree on that perspective in terms of how Manchester United Football Club look at it. But if Erik ten Hag is still here next season, then it's very simple to me. He has to leave. He has to say sorry to the manager. That was made clear as day, at the end of the day. And what he had done was spoke out of turn. The manager had clearly said after the Arsenal game, or was asked by the journalist, that he has not reached the levels, and his response was that he did reach the levels. That's just a clear disparity of power between a player and a manager. But, in terms of the performance in the Champions League, it was a fantastic performance. I've said before that he's got the potential to become the English Neymar. He's a very, very good footballer. But, it's being a good footballer and not applying yourself, I've seen plenty of those before. And we've had plenty of those before at Manchester United Football Club. So, onwards and upwards.
I hear you're speaking about the initial issue with Ten Hag. You can't rewrite history with that just because he's had a good performance. I think it's clear to basically everyone that Sancho was in the wrong, and it's funnily enough, Ten Hag said that his training performance wasn't good enough, and he said it in quite a kind way, really, at the time. And I don't get how Sancho can really go against that, because it's an opinion. That was Ten Hag's opinion. You can't then go, no, I was training well, because so that entire situation, it was Sancho's fault, and the fact that he didn't apologise, especially when Anthony then missed multiple weeks of games shortly after that because of his whole situation in Brazil. So he had he was complaining about a lack of game time, but there was an opportunity for him right then to kind of stake a claim. But I mentioned it in an article on District last night, which I felt like I needed to write, and I think that you completely on that situation and stories about maybe timekeeping and different things, he's completely at fault for. But what I think Ineos especially need to consider is that you're kind of bringing in a player who at Dortmund in those first 3 years, he was excellent kind of either on the right or left, because he had relationships with players. You remember Hakimi, who he was against last night, and Guerrero. It didn't matter whether he was on the left or the right, because they had attacking combination fullbacks and midfielders, and they had Erling Haaland as well. So but that obviously makes it easier. And they had everything set up for whether Sancho was on the left or the right, that he could combine with players. And then United buy him, and after multiple years of scouting him, and it just didn't really seem like they knew what player they were truly getting. And you saw Sancho playing games where he was essentially asked to be that one-on-one winger that we know Rashford is when he's playing well, we know Garnacho is. That's completely not Sancho's game. And then when that slowly just affects confidence, and I said last night, if a player or manager could bottle confidence up and keep that, it would be the most priceless thing in football, because you see Sancho, even with those connections, wouldn't have been able to do that this time last year because his confidence was all the way down there. But when you're putting a player in a position to succeed by you going, his strengths are this, we're going to try and make the situations that he plays in benefit what he's good at, then confidence slowly goes up, and then you see Sancho actually taking a man on 1v1 because he's got the confidence to do so. But I think when you're talking about Sancho at United, you can speak about the problems with Ten Hag, but I think that's the main crux of like why it didn't end up working for him. You can't expect a player to be in the exact perfect environment, but when you are spending upwards of 70 million on him, you've scouted him for 3-4+ years, there's got to be surely some sort of expectation that you're going to be trying to play to his strengths at least, because it just seems like counterproductive to bring him in for that much money and then expect him to do a job that he wasn't doing anyway.
Well, I think Paul Pogba was a purchase of a massive amounts of money, and I don't think he's an out-and-out 6. I think he's an 8, you know, so we didn't play to his strengths there as well. I think when you're at this club, the expectation, the pressure to deliver comes first. I think especially in the stadium, we want them to show us something first before, you know, we're looking to play to their strengths or anything. They have to show their ability on the pitch, and we have to warm to them.
Obviously, we can all agree that throughout, like, if you're just judging it on whether he performed at Manchester United, he didn't nowhere near enough. But the glimpses we saw of when he played good football, I think was it a game against Arsenal? It might have been Arsenal where he got an assist and he helped win a penalty. And both of those actions, it might have been against a different team, but it might have been Leicester, where both of the actions were Fred doing an underlapping or overlapping run and him finding the little discreet pass in between. And we saw he should have really got an assist last night from that, where Fulcrook made that run, disguised passing behind. And United, he's just not got into those situations enough. And I think you blame Sancho for, you can't have the perfect environment all the time. And sometimes people would probably argue that you have to deserve to get that perfect environment through at least solid performances. But I think there's still the other side where it just was almost set up to fail.
Do you think though, so you talk about that perfect environment, you've got to earn it. Is that you have to earn it from minute one at Manchester United? Or if you're a player as Jadon Sancho, who's had back-to-back seasons of like 20 goals, 20 assists, had he not, just playing devil's advocate, had he not earned that already at Dortmund? If
Sancho was the one player who'd completely failed at Manchester United in the last few years, you'd go, okay, that's a rare occurrence. We've got to blame the player completely. But because there's Paul Pogba, who, like you mentioned, was misused in a similar kind of way to Sancho. Anthony Martial was a golden boy winner. In the first few years, he was absolutely unstoppable, and then it's just gone down there, of course, injuries as well. There's a lot of different players where you can argue that their careers have got much worse when they've gone to Manchester United. Yeah. So I think you've also got to think about that when these players like Sancho fail, and I think that's what Ineos are going to be thinking about recruitment-wise. Why are these players coming to Manchester United and getting worse?